Hey everybody, welcome to the kitchen. Okay, well, I've been making pies. I've been going crazy doing pies lately. It has become an obsession. And so today I wanted to do basically Pie Crust 101. For those of you who are afraid to make your own pie crust, it's really not that hard. It just takes a little patience and a fairly good pie crust recipe, which is really super simple because basically it's flour, salt, butter, and with me, a little bit of oil. Some people use just Crisco. There's 100 different ways to do it. When I was growing up, my grandmother had literally a Crisco can filled with what she called her pie crust mix. And she would mix the Crisco and the sugar, the flour and the salt and all of that and get it cut up to the right size. She would put it in the can, and whenever she went to make a pie, she would just take out so much from the can, add the iced water, and before you knew it, she had a pie crust. So it's actually becoming a thing again to do that. Okay, so we are working on making a pie crust, and I'm using my classic batter bowl from Pampered Chef, which I absolutely love. We're also using a pie crust blender, okay, or pastry blender. This is a Pampered Chef pastry blender. Again, fantastic tool to use in your kitchen. We're using unsalted butter for the pie crust, and I've already got it. It's 10 tablespoons of butter that I cut up into little teeny tiny cubes, and I keep it in the freezer to keep it super cold because I don't want it to get soft, because soft butter and pie crust is not a good thing. So we're going to do this in stages, so bear with me. Okay, so we're going to start with our bowl, and we're going to actually add some ingredients to the bowl, and hopefully everybody will be able to see this. I'm going to move my camera, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing from a different perspective, so to speak. And please forgive me for all of the moving around. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're starting with our flour, and we're going to do 2.5 cups of flour. I am using the lovely measuring cups from Pampered Chef, and these are for dry ingredients, which are great because some measuring cups, you know, are made for wet ingredients and some are from dry. And you've got to remember that dry ingredients definitely measure differently than wet. And I'm doing 2.5 cups, so there's one. And you notice I'm not tapping the cup, I'm just pouring the flour in. Now, some people will just pick it out of the canister and scoop level off. So there's 2. And since I am too cheap to purchase a canister, I actually just recycle these great rice containers because they work just as well. And with my canisters that I have, I can actually get I could get with between 3 of these, I get a 5-pound bag of flour. Okay, 2.5 cups of flour into the bowl, and then I'm going to add just a smidge of salt. We're doing a teaspoon and a quarter, and my teaspoon is covered in vanilla, so I'm just going to do 1/2 teaspoon, second half teaspoon, and you'll have to forgive me, but I ran out of my cooking salt, and I refuse to go to the grocery store again. So I've been just grinding my own salt in a little bowl and doing that instead. So I've got the flour and the salt in the bowl. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to whisk it up. You want to incorporate. And I'm using my silicone whisk. Love this whisk. Okay, so now all I have in here is our flour and our salt. Super, super easy. Now we want a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Some people would use Crisco at this stage. I'm using just the vegetable oil. I'm looking for my measure all cup is what I'm looking for. My measure all cup. And remember, flat surface to pour and get down at eye level to look. Don't pick it up off the counter surface because you don't want to do that. One of the things I can say is that this baking pie crusts, a little bit of kind of an exact science, so you don't want to tempt fates by doing things that you wouldn't normally do. One of the things that I do, since the water has to be ice cold, okay, one of the biggest tricks I can tell you, ice cold. So I actually just take a cup, put some ice in it, put the water in it, and let it sit while I'm doing this part. So it gets the water super cold. All right, so I'm pouring in a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. I'm using a fork, and I'm just stirring it in the bowl, and I'm making sure that the flour and that stuff gets incorporated. So you can see it. And you're going to notice that it gets kind of little pea shapes. Okay, that's how I can describe it. You can see that. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. So that's been incorporated. The other thing with pie dough, do not overwork it. Okay? If you overwork the pie dough, it ends up being a problem. So this is my 10 tablespoons of butter that I've literally chopped up into little teeny tiny pieces. And all I'm doing now is I'm adding it to the flour, and I'm just kind of using my hands to break it apart so they're not really stuck together. 1 cup prep bowls, Pampered Chef, a set of 6 with the covers for just over $20. Can't go wrong. I love them. I use them all the time. So now I have the butter and the flour in the bowl. Yay! Okay, so what we're going to do is use the pie cutter, and we are incorporating the butter into the flour. Now, this part is where you really want to keep an eye on things, because you don't want to overwork, again, this, because if you do, then you won't have flaky crust, you're going to have rubber. So, and you notice it's starting to come together. The other thing that I also do and you want it to be a rough, coarse mix, okay? Rough and coarse. So here. I almost think, looking at this, oh yeah. It's a good rough coarse mix. Okay, you notice it's a good rough coarse mix. You can still see the bits of butter. That's good. Okay. Now, when you do this, you're using tablespoons of water. I start by putting 4 tablespoons of water in first. Okay? So I have my thing of ice water, and I'm going to 1 tablespoon, sprinkle it, and I'm going to do the 4 all at once. 3, 4. Okay, using my fork again, And now I'm mixing it to incorporate. You notice that it's starting to kind of all clump together, which is good. This definitely needs another one because it's like 6 to 9 tablespoons of water, but I always start with the 4 right off the bat. You'll notice, look at how it's already starting to cling together, okay? Now with this, I do 1 stir, and then, because I'm at 5 tablespoons. I do this because I, again, don't want to overwork it, and I don't want to get too much water. Okay. So this is the 6th one. And try to keep it in the bowl. I end up with more stuff outside of the bowl than I do in the bowl sometimes. Now here's one of the things you want to do. So we've got 6 in here now. So what you do is take a handful and you squish it. And if it stays together on its own, it's done. This is almost there. I'd say 1 more tablespoon of water and we're good to go. So there's 7 tablespoons. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, and just so I could see it again, hold it. Look at that. You see that? Okay. Now, this is the part that a lot of people have problems with. Got this stage done, we're good. Now we're going to actually have to wrap it up in some, break it in half and wrap it in cling wrap because this is enough for 2 pie crusts. Sometimes I wish I had kitchen elves. Okay, so I want to add just a smidge of flour. I mean a smidge. You notice this? A light dusting of flour on the counter. Do not over flour because you add flour, you're going to add stuff that's going to contribute to get doughy. So now I'm taking out about half of this mixture out of the bowl. And on the countertop, let's see if I can, you can see what I'm doing. So I've got it on the counter now, okay, and I'm rolling it. Okay, I'm going to get some plastic wrap. Plastic wrap. Ta-da! That goes in the fridge. Again, just a smidge. And I roll the edge on that floured surface. That helps. Now, bring it up close. Can you see the little lumps of butter? That's just flaky love waiting to come out. And make sure when you wrap it, you actually get it wrapped. Like I just missed that if I wasn't paying attention. So we want to wrap it so it's completely sealed in plastic wrap. Okay. Beep. So, pie crust is in the fridge. Now, fridge 30 minutes. You can go a little longer. 30 minutes is good. You get it too long, you're going to have to take it out on the counter and let it warm up a little bit before you roll it. Today might be different for me because I am actually today cooking and the doors in the house are open. My cat is having a blast. She can go out on the patio. Yes. Shall we see this? You see this? See out my view? Isn't that beautiful? Now, you guys see. Absolutely beautiful, right? Look at that. What can I say? Christmas in Florida. No snow. It's about 80 degrees or a little lower. I almost threatened to close the door because it was getting just a little bit too warm, and I've been baking all morning. So, I will post the pie recipe for the pie crust. Although, if you want it, I don't take credit for this pie crust recipe. Okay? It's actually a recipe from King Arthur flour, which I cook only with King Arthur flour. Love King Arthur flour. So, we've got the pie crust done. 30 minutes from now, we'll get to make a pie and put a pie in the crust. I'm doing 2 different pies. I'm going to do a sweet potato pie. I've got potatoes in the oven right now. I'm going to roast my sweet potatoes. Instead of boiling, I'm going to roast them and then mash them up. And I'm also going to do, of course, my cranberry apple pie, which you have seen me many a times posting. The last one for Thanksgiving and then another one. So I've been requested to do the pie for Christmas. So it'll be the 3rd time I've made that pie. So in the last month, I've made the pie 3 times. So it should be pretty much yummy delicious as the last 2 have been. Okay, so again, don't forget pie crusts are really super, super easy. You don't have to buy a pre-made pie crust. You can make your own. Just a little bit of love makes pie taste fantastic, and you get such an amazing flaky crust. Bye guys, see you soon.